Howard, your coach and counselor. This week's topic is guilt. We opened day one yesterday with 6 subjects on the topic guilt, and I shared 1 to 2 sentences to define each one. With that, I don't want to today just define it. I want to make it understandable and relevant to you. So in taking that on, I want to read this statement to you that I really appreciate it. And it's in part from Wikipedia. And it reads, Alice Miller claims that many people suffer all their lives from oppressive feelings of guilt. The sense of not having lived up to their parents' expectations or the expectations, the dreams they've had for themselves when they were younger and dreamed dreams. No argument can overcome this form of guilt feelings, for they have their beginnings in life's earliest period, and from that they derive their intensity. It has grown with the person. This may be linked to what Les Parrott has called the disease of false guilt. At the root of false guilt is the idea that what you feel must be true. If you feel guilty, you must be guilty. And that is the term for false guilt. Now, how many listening to this video can relate to feelings of guilt? Just any feelings of guilt at all. Normal, functional, whichever. How about feelings from a guilty conscience when your soul is harassed with guilt more often than you like? How about the possibility of feelings from false guilt? Is there any? I've counseled many people at this point from whom their childhood has brought them a sense of guilt in most every area in their adult lives. From those that I've coached, they were raised by manipulating parents, mainly on the mother's side, whom has not dealt with their own guilt, shame, or insecurities, and ended up, by manipulation, guilting their children into a life of insecurities and guilt for their own unhappiness. It happens, it's true. From a cognitive point of view, guilt is an emotion that people experience because they have convinced themselves that they have caused harm. My professional peers teach that in cognitive therapy, the thoughts cause the emotion. Come on, say it. Thoughts cause the emotion. The emotion of guilt follows directly from the thought that you are responsible for someone else's misfortune, whether or not this is the case. It's the thought where things are flowing from. People who experience guilt on a long-term basis mistakenly suffer under the illusion that they have caused other people harm. In this case, their parents' unhappiness. And sometimes in the worst case scenario, I have seen, listen to this, even from being born, which was, of course, no control of the child. Whew, I've got to exhale. That was deep right there. That's a tough tone. That's a tough one. All right, you ready? So, their negative emotion flows from their tendency to misinterpret what happens to them and not to question the logic. I want you to breathe. This is a big one today. I just feel the heaviness on this today. In cognitive therapy, treatment often involves teaching people to rid themselves of what's known as automatic thoughts. People constantly plagued by guilt are also taught to recognize their dysfunctional attitude, so that they recognize when they're going through such mental processes as catastrophizing everything, making the very worst of a bad situation, or overgeneralizing, believing that if one bad thing happened, many more must happen as well. Thus, the conclusion of, if it's not one thing, it's another. That's a guilt-ridden person. So, in rewiring the tendency to blame yourself for everything that goes wrong with your parents, in your marriage, at your job, with your friendships, in your life, with your children. Coaching and counseling will help you realize that you are inaccurately seeing yourself as causing harm and others to suffer, and can assist you in readjusting your mental set and more realistically figuring out your role in whatever grief has come your way. That's the definition of cognitive therapy. It is helping you to change your thoughts so you can change your emotions. That's cognitive therapy in the shortest form possible. What is your soul work for today? Well, it's already been stated. Number 1, pay attention to your negative thoughts. Pay attention to your negative thoughts. From your thought follows your emotion. From your negative thought follows your tendency to misinterpret what it means and you not questioning the logic. I need you to pay attention to negative thoughts, and I want you to log down negative emotions. Please, 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 not only like and share this, but most importantly, I want you to replay this with your journal open as many times as you need to, because this was a lot of information in a short, segmented time. And if we can begin to cast your thoughts, pull down your thoughts, take your thoughts captive, pay attention to yourself, being self-aware. Forget knowing what's going on the Facebook posts and on the radio and on the YouTube. Have some self-awareness and begin to pay attention to yourself. Pay attention to your negative thoughts, because it is your stinking thinking that is producing your feelings and emotions. And if you can't cast every thought down, if you can't pull every emotion down, if you can't take captivity those negative thoughts, it is going to continue to dictate negative emotions and feelings, thus having a lot of superficial misery, false guilt, self-induced sadness. This is a season where people will find themselves being sad and throwing off on the real reason why they are sad. Some people are sad because they realize, I've messed up my life. Here comes another year. But they'll find the death of a loved one to throw it off on, when it's really not so much the death. It's really that feeling in your soul, your consciousness, that I have not pursued all that I wanted. I did not meet my parents' expectations. I did not meet my expectations of me. Where's the dreamer? You let the dreamer die, and now you have guilt from that. But if we can pay attention to the false thoughts that are causing the mixed emotions, we can get you in alignment with the natural, supernatural self that you were intended to be in this earth. Remember to hashtag replay. This is important. And if you haven't got my app yet, download my app, because it has a private personal journal on there just for your eyes only. All right, my information is going to show up after this. Exhale, and I'll see you tomorrow morning as we continue with guilt. God bless you.